In a stunning twist of the war, Ukraine didn't just shoot down a Russian Su-35, they stole it. One of Moscow's most advanced fighter jets allegedly taken right from under Russian control. If this is true, it could be one of the most shocking aviation losses of the entire conflict.
January dawn breaks cold over the Kursk borderlands. 0520 hours. Russia's most lethal interceptor, an $85 million Su-35 flanker, lies crippled in frozen mud, its belly torn open, landing gear collapsed beneath it. Ukrainian special forces have 18 minutes to cut out the $50 million radar system before Russian bombers flatten the entire grid square. Extracted, and they decrypt the Kremlin's air war playbook. Fail, and they vanish inside the most expensive crater on Earth. This jet didn't fall by accident. This was an ambush disguised as chaos, executed 2 hours earlier using weapons Moscow never saw coming. And if you're wondering why they chose this target over easier prey, the answer reveals a weakness buried deep inside Russian engineering, a digital vulnerability that turned their crown jewel into a ticking time bomb. The Su-35's radar doesn't just track threats. Every time it powers on, the system transmits an encrypted authentication signal back to base. Think of it like your phone checking in with the network before it unlocks. For Russian engineers, this was routine security protocol. For Ukrainian intelligence, it was a roadmap straight into the cockpit. For 96 hours, they monitored this exact jet from the 105th Guard Division. They knew when it refueled, when it launched, when it would be most exposed over Kursk. But here's the trap. Kursk isn't open sky. It's a death corridor. Russian S-400 and Panzer batteries form an interlocking grid every 30 kilometers. Aircraft entering this zone have a life expectancy measured in seconds. If Ukraine wanted wreckage, a missile would have done the job. But burning titanium is worthless. They needed the intact computer brain, the Urbis radar, and the encryption keys protecting the entire Russian air-to-air network. The mission requirement was surgical: disable, don't destroy. Flying into Russian airspace meant challenging a radar net capable of tracking 300 objects. One miscalculation, 1 second of hesitation, and the trap collapses inward. But new doctrine combined with Western technology would convert the impossible into the inevitable. The stage was set. Now all they needed was for the Su-35 to step into a digital maze it couldn't escape. 0430 hours. 20 Ukrainian Leoty drones launched skyward, engines howling at 120 meters per second. At $15,000 apiece, these are essentially motorized explosives wrapped in fiberglass, and are racing toward Russia's fuel infrastructure in Kursk. Inside the Russian command bunker, alarms cascade across every screen. 20 contacts crawling toward critical energy depots. The choice is brutal. Let them through and watch refineries burn, or fire $2 million S-400 interceptors at disposable decoys. Panic wins. Moscow demands immediate response. 2 Su-35 scream off the runway at Voronezh. Afterburners dumping 36,000 pounds of thrust to intercept the swarm. For these elite pilots, this is target practice. They're hunting easy kills. 6 minutes into the intercept, the lead Su-35 pilot locks his IRSD sensor onto the first Leoty. He doesn't bother with radar. He wants a silent kill. The R-73 missile leaves the rail at Mach 2.5. 5 seconds later, impact. The drone disintegrates into flaming debris. $15,000 converted to confetti. The Russian pilot keys his radio. Target destroyed. Next, he cranks through 7GS, lines up another drone. Second R-73 away. Second kill confirmed. Russian command is celebrating. What they should be doing is checking the balance sheet. They've just burned $4 million in missiles to eliminate $30,000 in hardware. It's like demolishing a house to kill a mosquito. Effective, but economically catastrophic. The Russian pilots push deeper, hunting the remaining drones. They're exiting the protective umbrella of ground-based defenses, chasing what they believe is a route. What they don't know is that while they were busy incinerating cheap targets, their own flight computers were being fed corrupted data through the backdoor Ukraine discovered 4 days ago. As the Su-35 pursued the final decoy, pushing far beyond its safety perimeter, it became the prey. Every kill recorded pulled them deeper into the phantom swarm, a maze where the real threat was about to emerge, and it wouldn't be made of plastic and propellers. Here's why destroying those decoys was a death sentence. The instant the Russian pilot fired on the Leoty drones, he broadcast his precise GPS location to every sensor within 100 miles. As the first drone evaporated, 60 additional drones from Ukraine's Phantom unit launched simultaneously from concealed positions just 10 miles away. Imagine searching for someone in a mirrored room. You see them everywhere, but every time you reach out, you strike glass. That's exactly what began unfolding on the Su-35's radar display. These 60 drones weren't just airborne. They carried onboard processors communicating directly with Russian radar frequencies. Using the compromised backdoor, the drones knew exactly which channels the Su-35 was scanning. They didn't jam the signal. They rewrote it. The result, on the Russian pilot screen, he didn't see 60 small drones. He saw 60 F-16 Vipers converging on his position from every compass point at supersonic speed. The pilot's world collapsed. He tried locking a target at 12 o'clock. It vanished and reappeared at 6. He slammed through menus trying to achieve missile lock, but the $50 million radar returned nothing but cascading errors. Target lost. Reacquiring. The world's most advanced fighter display now resembled a corrupted video game from 2 decades ago. While the Su-35 burned, fuel chasing phantoms and fighting ghosts, it completely missed a low-altitude whisper skimming 50 feet above terrain. That was the real strike package. A lone Ukrainian F-16 using targeting data fed from a Saab 340 AWACS orbiting safely 150 miles away. The F-16 kept its own radar completely silent. It was hunting blind. At 40 miles, the Ukrainian pilot pressed the trigger and released an AIM-120 missile. But this wasn't a kill shot. Ukraine didn't want scrap metal. They wanted intelligence. The AIM-120 was programmed for proximity detonation. It wasn't aimed at the engines. It was aimed at empty airspace just above the Su-35 spine. 3, 2, 1. The missile detonated 10 feet above the rear stabilizer section. A cloud of tungsten fragments shredded the horizontal tail surfaces and severed primary hydraulic lines. In an instant, the invincible Predator became a powerless glider. It didn't explode. It became a bullet with no trajectory control. The Su-35 slammed into Kursk mud at high speed, the fuselage absorbing impact like a 60-foot crumple zone, keeping the Irbis radar in the nose perfectly preserved. The Russian pilot had 1.5 seconds to decide. He pulled the ejection handles. The canopy rocketed away, and he was punched into the sky beneath a white parachute, watching his $85 million career embed itself in frozen earth. But the real battle was just beginning. Every radar station within 200 miles watched that blip disappear. Moscow understood immediately what was at stake. The Irbis radar is irreplaceable, and they'd rather turn that field into glass than let Ukraine capture it. 0522 hours. Russian command issues a cold directive. Vaporize the wreckage. No survivors. No evidence. 2 Su-34 bombers orbiting 60 miles away are vectored to the crash site. Their orders are simple. Drop 4 FAB-500 laser-guided bombs and erase the Su-35 before Ukraine gets within sight. But the GUR extraction team is already on location. The Russian Su-34 pilots are enraged. They descend lower, attempting visual confirmation, but they fly straight into the Patriot ambush. A Ukrainian Patriot battery hidden in forest cover 20 miles away switches from standby to active engagement. Search mode is passive. Track mode is lethal. The Su-34's radar warning receiver emits a solid scream. The Russian pilot brakes hard, dumping chaff like his survival depends on it, because it does. A PAC-3 interceptor exits the canister at Mach 4. 15 seconds later, the sky over Kursk erupts in a $50 million fireball as the first Su-34 is eliminated. On the ground, the M1070 driver is drenched in sweat beneath his tactical gear. The Su-35 is secured on the trailer, but it's balanced precariously. 8,000 tons of grain in a previous operation was challenging, but this is $85 million of don't let it shift. Go, go, go. The M1070 slams into gear, its 18-speed transmission howling as it hauls the streamlined 15-ton payload on a paved road. They're moving at 45 miles per hour, fast for a mobile fortress, but exposed for Russian artillery. Moscow is now deploying everything available. They launched 10 Lancet suicide drones from a nearby ridge. These are precision instruments of Russian doctrine. They dive at 100 miles per hour, targeting the M1070 engine block. But Ukrainian electronic warfare specialists aboard the transporter activate a frequency-hopping dome. Using Starlink mini terminals for real-time coordination, they create a 300-foot dead zone. As the Lancets enter the radius, their video feeds dissolve into static. For Lancets lose guidance, crashing harmlessly into roadside ruts. 3 more are neutralized by EW operators using handheld Skynode jammers. It's a 30-mile sprint to the border through a corridor of incoming fire. Russian 152mm artillery is bracketing the highway, shells landing progressively closer.